What's going on, people? We are Tottenham T. Oh, there's that echo, Joe.
It's all right.
All right, what's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back here for another post-match fan show. We have got completely outclassed by the scum, by the gooners, by those nomads, by the filth. And it is really hard to take. I'm not going to lie. It really is. You've got to look at Jose Mourinho, the way he set up the team. You've got to look at the players, the way they applied themselves on that pitch today. I mean, everyone could have said that Doherty shouldn't have started today. Everyone could have said.
Could see that coming a mile away.
You know what I mean? And he got completely outdone today. Completely outdone today, time and time and time again. That midfield battle was completely won by Arsenal. The attacking players were completely anonymous. And Jose's got to look at himself for the way he set up the team, the way we applied our tactics, and the substitutions he made during the game as well.
Horrific.
It was completely horrific. It was completely pathetic. But look, we've got Grandpa waiting. Let's see what positive spin he can if he can put any kind of positive spin onto this.
Oh, of course I can.
Joe, can you put it on the screen?
Hi, you guys.
How you doing, Grandpa?
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Good to see you too, Grandpa.
And it was depressing. It was a pretty poor game on our part. I think we were very unlucky to get Son injured so quickly. And also, I don't think Kane was tired. I said he shouldn't have played for the second half of that last match, and he got injured, and he shouldn't have been playing this game. He was just tired, and it was that attacking bit that was missing. I thought, and I think they should have kept Bale on and taken Kane off at that point, because Bale, he wasn't playing that badly. I mean, and if it wasn't for his brilliant pass, I don't think Lamela would have been in a position to get that goal, which was an absolutely brilliant goal. I probably would have thought about giving Lamela the man of the match until although I don't think it was a penalty, and neither did the pundits that I was listening to. And I don't think I don't. What was the other goal?
The red card talking about, or the first one just before half time, the goal they scored, where
Yeah.
Doherty got run past on the right side.
Yeah, it was a red. I don't think it was a red card. It said once they got the red card that we had the best spell of the game.
Grandpa, do you think it was a penalty?
No, I don't think it was a penalty. I don't think it was a penalty. He, he missed his kick, and Sanchez wasn't even looking at him to actually make a foul on purpose. He tripped over him, and I don't think it was a penalty. And there you go. I don't know. In a way, if you assume that wasn't a penalty, I would give the man of the match to Sanchez.
Really?
I think we would have lost, 5-0.
I agree.
If he wasn't playing so well. It's one of the best games I've seen him play, but it just really shows how bad everybody else was playing.
Yeah.
Mourinho
after the game has said a lot of important attacking players were hiding in the game. Who do you think he was talking about?
Kane. Regulon was, he was hiding. Regulon's a good attacking player, and he was hiding. And also Doggett is an attacking player, is attacking winger, and he was hiding. So I think they were nervous. Ndomble was played out of it. He's an attacking player, and he was being beaten every single time when normally he gets the ball often. Lamela was the only one that was making any move forward, and it was just a very disappointing game. They were full of fight. I have to give Arsenal a lot of credit, because they were the ones that had been away and had to come back, and they were full of fight all the time. And when you think that we didn't have a corner till the last 10 minutes, and then we nearly got a goal, but we were offside. Not one corner.
Yeah.
When do you hear that? And also all the measurements you gave out, we weren't having long passes, which we were doing so well on the other matches. We just didn't. I don't know whether we were nervous. I don't know what the problems were, but
it was hard to take because right at the front you've got no pressing at all on the pitch until Eric Lamela comes on, and when he comes on, he's pretty much the only one doing that job. And when you press by yourself, you're not going to get anything. The middle of the park, the passing was completely dreadful. We couldn't put 2-3 passes together at times, and
particularly the first half was,
especially the first half. Yeah, especially
second half was a bit better because they played back in the first half. They deliberately played back, as you said in your build-up. That's the way he set it up. But the goals they got were lucky. But it doesn't matter because by any other measurements, we lost the game badly.
Yeah.
How much of a blow is this now to our season and to the top 4 race in terms of catching Chelsea in 4th? We're currently 6 points behind with a game in hand. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm still hopeful. I think we've got good players there, and I think he's just got a problem with playing them, with so many games. I think that's the big issue. Particularly if we keep going on to the Europa Cup, then we've got a lot of games to go, and I think that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Graham.
Okay. Okay.
All right, Grandpa. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Nice one, Grandpa. Speak to you in a bit. Good to see you again.
Bye. We've got a couple of super chats here. One from Colin Lumsden saying, no passion, no press, no points. Lamela still man of the match, though. Alex FRW says, lost for words. Did the players know it was a North London derby? I mean, it didn't seem like they knew it was a North London derby, did it? They did not play with any sort of passion. You could see Arsenal completely wanted that game much more than us, and they showed that on the pitch. They showed that desire on the pitch. They didn't give us a second to breathe when we were on the ball, and that's what we needed to do to them, and we just didn't come anywhere near that. But we got Mike Kelly waiting. Let's get Mike on. Mike, how you doing, mate?
Doing all right, guys. How we doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to take today. I mean, what do you put it down to?
So there's so many things we could talk about, but for me, the conclusion I keep coming down to is our best players are those players that in their heads, they're so good they only need 1 or 2 chances. When Gareth Bale's out there, he's not pressing all the way. I don't blame his body. We can only blame his body so much. I mean, he's not 70 years old. Okay? Yeah, he's played so many big games, but he's not 70 years old. Okay? He could press for 45 minutes at the very least.
Yeah.
Kane the same way. If Kane's hurt, if we're going to lose, let's lose with healthy players in the pitch. And at least we could turn around and say we gave Vinicius a shot today. He wasn't good enough. We concluded something. You know what I mean? If that's the excuse that our best players just think they need 1 or 2 glimpses at goal and we're going to score, how do you explain that we're looking better down a man with 5 in stoppage time? To me, that was the most threatening we looked when we were actually creating set pieces. Like Grandpa said, we didn't have a sniff at a corner for the first 80 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
So that's inexcusable. And especially when you're down to 10 men, I can't blame Mourinho if the mentality switch on. If I see that when we're about to lose, that the team is actually playing better and more on the front foot. You know, there's no way Mourinho is going out there and saying, I want you guys to give them the ball and give them threatening opportunities like they did the first half. We cannot go out there and say that that's Mourinho. And as good as Højbjerg has been as a signing, I think that's as bad as Matt Doherty has been as a signing. I mean, he was absolutely getting shredded. You could say he wasn't getting enough help, but he's getting beat 1v1. He's getting beat 1v1 every time.
Every fucking time.
Every time.
Exactly. So we can't defend it anymore.
But isn't it Mourinho's responsibility for starting him? Why is he starting Doherty? He could have easily started Aurier today.
Yeah, and you're right, absolutely. And me and my mate first guessed this while we were watching the game. We said Aurier is still our first choice right back. If we're at our best and we're going to play at our front foot, Aurier is still the guy we trust more. And that just goes to show how much we need to strengthen that position in the future. Because as sad as it is, going forward, we're not gonna get any better with these guys in this position. Sorry, I'm too close to the camera. I'm getting too fired up. But yeah, I mean, he was so poor today, and if we have to bring on that much help to support him, then he's not good enough to play in a 4, and then he's not good enough for Spurs or how Mourinho wants to play.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, Mike. Go on.
But why? There are players like Ndombele today. Where was he? Why was he so anonymous in that central midfield where usually there were so many opportunities for him where he was in space, he could drive forward, he could take people on, and he was just playing within himself. He was just completely anonymous. What do you think that performance was down to today for Tonga?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think in Ndombele, while we do see his fitness going up, while he's able to run around a little bit longer, I don't trust him a lick off the ball. When we don't have any possession. Like, he needed to put a little bit more of a shift in the first half, win some balls back, win the ball back in a dangerous area. You know what I mean? I think he wants to, put on a highlight show, which we love. The guy is so talented with the ball at his feet. But in a game like today, when it's more about passion and throwing tackles in, which is why, I mean, don't get me wrong, I wish we had Son, and I'm very nervous about what the injury may be. I hope the best, like we all do. But I said to my buddy, Lamela coming on is that kick in the ass that we need in this moment. It really was. His energy and his just tackling. All right, he got sent off today. He scored a worldie goal, classic Eric Lamela, right? That's the Lamela we expect to see, is a bit of class and a bit of recklessness. But that kick in the ass changed the game a little bit. The excuse for the first 45 minutes, I don't have. I don't have for the players. I'm blaming the players. Harry Kane, I love him to death. He's one of the best players I've ever seen put on his first shirt or any shirt, in my opinion, since I've been watching in America. But today he didn't flip that switch until we were down to 10 men, and he saw, we're about to lose to Arsenal. Yeah. To me, he just has that predatory instinct, and he's getting to the point in his career where he knows he's so good he only needs a glimpse. In a game like today, we need all players on the front foot, putting tackles in, pressing from the front. And we didn't have that from the jump today. And it was obvious. And the Lamela goal, I'm just very happy. Let's take solace in the fact that was the first goal of the game. We can go back and watch that and say, in that moment, that was one of the best moments we can recall in a long time. So that's something to enjoy, at least, from today.
It's just so frustrating, Mike, because the one way to get at Arsenal is to press their defence, press them into making mistakes. And that is the one way where you can pretty much guarantee success against Arsenal, because you know if you press them intensely, they're going to be pressed into making mistakes. But we just didn't do that at all today. The only person that was doing that was Eric Lamela. Why was the rest of the players not following suit and like pressing them high up the pitch? It made no sense to me.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. There's no tactical reason Mourinho is going out to Gareth Bale and Harry Kane and Young-Min Son and Lucas and saying, no, go out there and sit back and don't try to score goals. Because they're on the pitch to score goals. Let's be honest. That's what they're on the pitch to. Gareth Bale does not see the field unless Jose thinks he can nick a goal today or at least produce something. He had no sniffs today. And the reason because of that, like I said before, is I think our front three, and it sounds arrogant to say because we've won nothing, but Bale has won something. Bale is a world-class player. He started today. Harry Kane knows he's a world-class player, and he's the king of Tottenham. He can do whatever he wants at Spurs, and we all love him no matter what, of course. No denying that still after today, of course. But in a game like today, he's the front of the line, right? If he's not putting pressure on those guys, then we're relying on Lucas Moura to put pressure on the front line. Then what's our midfield doing? Then we have two men in the midfield, and then we're outnumbered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if Lucas is doing our pressing, they break one pass around Kane, and then they're into our defense. And let's be honest, I thought the foul, like Grandpa said, I thought it was harsh, but they deserve to win. They created a hell of a lot more than us today. It's frustrating to say, but these are the days where you need to look yourself in the mirror and say, listen, it wasn't good enough. And the next time you remember that taste in your mouth and you make sure it doesn't happen again, hopefully.
How detrimental is that defeat to our top four hopes, and how detrimental is it to our kind of mental state going into the rest of the season?
So I'm in my American teams, I'm a bit of a pessimist. So I look at it like, what's the worst that can happen? I always fancied us as more of a we need to go in Europa and Carabao and get some silverware in those departments. So I wasn't on the board, but if we won today with the game in hand, then today would have probably been me starting that train back up and saying, all right, top four is on again. So yeah, in that way, it definitely is a detriment. It definitely took us back a step. And I think our focus needs to be on making sure, number one, our Carabao Cup, we're fit for the Carabao Cup. If Harry Kane is not healthy next week, play Carlos Vinicius. All right? Or you're going to either let a good player go in the summer or spend $35 million on a player you don't want again. All right? So we need to see give guys a fair shake, especially if guys aren't fit. We know Son isn't going to be fit now, and he shouldn't play for a couple of weeks in the league either. And I think we need to become a cup team. We need to go all in for Europa. In my opinion, we have the most quality of any team in Europa. No matter what happened today, yeah, we lost today. So what? It's one game of football in the Emirates on the road, and we weren't up for it. So we go again. I think the cup league, the cup competitions are our bread and butter for now. And it's about building form, and then we have to worry about the league if we get close. But that game in hand is nothing to sneeze about, because who do we have to play? Villa, that's a tough game as well. So
yeah, next weekend, I mean.
Yep. So
all right, Mike. Thanks a lot for coming on, man.
Mike.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, mate.
See ya.
Well, Mourinho's been pretty vocal in his post-match press conference.
Of course he has. What's he said?
Well, he was asked if the intensity in the team was not good enough today, and he said, I 200% agree with that. He was also asked about the penalty. He said, he was asked if it was a penalty. He said, I don't want to call it a penalty because it would be an offence to penalties. And then he said,
I agree, man. I saw when I was watching the replay, I was like, how is that a penalty? Like, he's completely
I think there's just enough doubt that if you've given it, you can't overturn it. I think it wasn't clearly not a penalty, but I don't know. I don't think it was a penalty. He also said he was asked about the first half. He said very, very poor first half. We did not have intensity to run. Everybody was dropping back, and nobody was looking to attack apart from Lucas with some individual actions. And then he said, if you're a big player, you play. If you are a big player, you play for Tottenham. I'm not saying it was player A or B. We did not individualise. Players were hiding, and we were poor. And he said on the substitution, said Gareth and Tongi, we needed more intensity in the game. We need to press more, but more intense in the game. We needed initially Sissoko to give us that intensity that Tongi was not giving us. Then Dele was a player that had desire to play, and in the last match, he did not complete 90 minutes. He was fresh and he had a good understanding of Harry Kane. And that was his explanation of the substitutions. And then he said the only thing that was worse than the first half display today was the penalty given.
Yeah.
And he also, what he's saying on, he said on Son, he said, I don't know how long it will be. It's muscular, so usually not easy. He's normally a guy who's very quick to recover. It's an accumulation of matches. I gave him 30 minutes rest in the last match, but it's still 60 minutes he played in the Europa League.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll have to wait and see about Son.
All right, well, let's get Alex on. Alex.
Hey, guys.
I mean, what can I say? Look, it was a completely lackluster display today, wasn't it? I mean, from start to finish, it was just not good enough whatsoever. What do you put it down to?
I think it's a mix of everything. I think it was a bit of Mourinho, a lot on the players. Just lack of everything today. It really hurts. It's really disappointing because I think tactically the way we set up wasn't a surprise. Shouldn't have been a surprise to anyone. Because that's how we tend to go into these games.
Yeah.
Break, and we know that Arsenal's defense isn't great. I mean, we the chances we did have some really, really good chances. That Kane one comes to mind. Ali nearly scored that header. But I think overall, throughout the 90 minutes, we just paled in comparison to the intensity that Arsenal showed, unfortunately. And that's really sad to say because the one thing I expect from my team when they play is passion and intensity, and we lacked all of that today. And so it's just very disappointing. But, of course, Mourinho doesn't escape criticism either. I mean, look, Matt Doherty, he's a poor player, right? We know that. That's not a secret. Why play him in the North London derby?
It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Everyone in this build-up to this game could tell you that our right-hand spot, right back, will be the weak spot in the team if Matt Doherty
And where do they
plays.
target?
And that's exactly where. How many times did they get in behind in that first half? Behind Matt Doherty.
Taxi for Doherty. Literally, absolute. Tierney had him on the ropes the entire.
He had him on
game,
toast
basically.
the whole game, man.
Yep. It's shocking. And in fairness to Doherty, that's not obviously it's his fault, but he doesn't pick himself. He doesn't. Yeah. Doherty does not pick himself.
I agree.
We know he's terrible. I'm sure he's a great footballer. He's great for Wolves, but for us, for Tottenham, he has been shocking. Almost every game, he's a bright spot in there, but almost every game has been shocking. And why play him? Okay, why not take him off at half time? He was literally everyone was calling for it to take him off at half time. Just put Aurier on there.
Yeah.
Just lock up that right hand side. I can't even.
And then he makes those two early subs in the second half, which leaves us with no subs till the end of the game, and that leaves Matt Doherty on for the whole 90 minutes.
100%. I agree with you. It was from an in-game management perspective, it was simply not good enough. Simply not good enough. Apart from him starting Doherty, it wasn't surprised the lineup. Oh well, Doherty starting, we knew that was going to basically happen, but I feel like he got it actually mostly spot on with the lineup. But I don't know, the players have to have a long hard look at themselves because it was just simply not good enough. Lucas Moura seemed to be the only one really trying from the get-go. Lamelo, when he came on, obviously scored an incredible goal, which will sadly be forever tarnished now, which is really sad because it really deserved more than the end result. And obviously the sending off, Lamella, classic Lamella, that isn't it?
What did you? Yeah, I thought it was a ridiculous sending off. I thought it was so stupid to hit Tierney in the face when he has possession of the ball. Like, you have the ball, just play the ball. Why are you getting involved with Tierney and whatever, swing your arms all over the place? But on the penalty, Mourinho says it was an offence to penalties, calling that a penalty. What did you make of it?
I can understand why it was given. I feel, and the thing for me is, I feel like from the replays, I watched a couple of replays after it. Lacazette already hit the ball. I think when Sanchez got in the way and it wasn't going anywhere, he completely missed it. I think from what I saw. So it was a needless challenge anyway. And I don't know. It's a really tough one because if it was against the way I do it is if it was against or for Tottenham, how would I view it? And I feel like I would have had something to say because he did get in the way and didn't get the ball, and he did interfere in the strike. So I can understand why he did give penalty, but I can also understand people's frustrations. It's one of those ones where nothing will be. It's not going to be very clear.
It's one of those ones where if it wasn't given, VAR doesn't overturn it. But because it was given, there was enough doubt to keep the on-field decision.
Exactly.
Which is frustrating.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like ask any Tottenham fan, right, and they'll say we didn't deserve to win the game.
Yeah, we did.
Anyway, regardless.
Look, we were beaten by the better side today. As much as it hurts to say it, we were completely.
Absolutely.
They outran us, outfought us.
Minute one.
Yeah, completely. They wanted it more. I mean, the only time we looked good was, that little moment when Lamela scored that little attack, first 5 minutes of the second half, and then we were down to 10 men.
Exactly. And it's concerning because why does this happen in the big games for us?
I mean,
I don't really understand.
We haven't beaten a team that's above us in the league since Southampton, since the second game of the season.
You are joking, right?
No, I'm being completely honest with you.
Oh my goodness. Sums it up. And it's tough because we've had a really great period now, and I want to see how we react from this. I want to see if it's a downward spiral like it has been, like the Chelsea result seems to be, if I remember correctly. I can't actually remember if we lost games after that, but I'm just really sad because I really expected more from these players. Gareth Bale expected more. Ndombele expected more. Just sad. Even Kane. I don't know if he's carrying a knock, and don't even get on Son as well. It's just it goes from bad to worse, doesn't it? It's it leaves the league in. That's out of the top four pretty much. I'd say it makes it very difficult. I think it makes
6 points outside top four with the game in hand, but then obviously Man United, West Ham play now.
Yeah. But remember that Son now out for probably a couple of weeks. You'd imagine.
Yeah.
At least a couple of weeks.
Well, we're lucky we got an international break coming up now.
Yeah, very very true. But that's still Son out, and it's going to be a negative atmosphere in the dressing room, you'd assume, because and it's in that way I want to see how we react. I want to see if we can pick ourselves up and do better. We're lucky Chelsea only drew yesterday against Leeds. Otherwise, if they won, it would be very very outside. I still don't think we'll make it though. I still don't think we will. And so it becomes the Europa League where inevitably we'll face Arsenal in a two-legged tie after this.
It will be time to get revenge. It will be time to get revenge.
Absolutely.
Well, look, we won over two legs when I could go this season.
Yeah, 2-0 and 2-1. Yeah,
exactly.
But
to be honest, if we get Arsenal in the Europa League and beat them, this game will mean nothing.
Oh, absolutely. Could you imagine? Oof. I kind of want that now because to redeem this result.
I think we need it. Never mind want it, we need it.
I think Mourinho is the type of manager that also really want this. Yeah, absolutely. But look, we have to pick ourselves up. Everyone stay off social media. Just don't even look at it because it's going to be very very bad at the moment. Arsenal fans are going to still be forgetting that they are behind us in the league. And not in front of us. We'll still probably finish above them. I'm sure.
So.
Let them have their day in the sunshine. They'll be back in their shadow before long. So
right.
Yeah.
Nice one, Alex. We'll speak to you next time.
Nice one,
Thanks,
Alex.
guys.
Cheers, mate.
See you in a bit.
All right, let's keep going. I know there's a lot of people waiting to get on. Who have we got next?
Danny.
Yes, Danny. How's it going, mate? Danny?
Oh, is he there?
Oh, can you hear me?
There you go.
Yes, Danny, we can hear you. How you doing?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely gutted with that performance. Never mind the result. It was actually the performance that really did it to me. I mean, to go into a North London derby where Arsenal are playing like they want it and playing a lot better than us, and we're just giving that lethargic, dire display, don't mind the pun, it's just really hard to take. I mean, what do you make out of it?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with what everyone was saying, to be honest. Everyone before, especially like Alex was saying, like your grandpa was saying. I think it was a lackluster to performance. It was just no desire, no energy. Like some of the guys were saying before, there was no pressing from the front, and you kind of felt like at first I thought initially that it's kind of just like a typical big match Mourinho performance where he just goes on the defensive and tries to sort of play on the counter. But I think, like Alex was saying, it's a bit of both. It's a bit of the players and it's a bit of Mourinho as well. Because I don't think he would have gone out and said, look, play on the counter. I want you to sit back and just try and find the opportunities against Arsenal, because we've been playing so well attackingly recently. And I think, do you know what? A lot of it, I kind of think there was a lot of nerves there, to be honest. I saw a lot of the players were playing sloppy passes. They, certain times, a lot of the players were just, they didn't know what to do with the ball, especially in the first half anyway. And they just, well, you saw on Ndombele today, today he was quite poor. He was very sloppy. I think Højbjerg looked leggy as well. He looked a bit sloppy. Obviously, we don't need to say any more about Doherty, to be honest, because he was just, it was absolutely appalling from him. And then like you said before, everyone was calling for Aurier to start, and we kind of had that feeling. We knew that if Doherty was going to start, he was going to have a bit of a bad time. And you even heard Arteta right after on the post match. He goes, "We knew what areas to attack Spurs today, basically," and obviously hinting at the right hand side where Doherty was playing. So he knew that was going to be a position that we were going to get. They could take advantage of us.
Do you think it was just Doherty, or do you think it was the fact that Bale as well wasn't tracking back and was pretty much giving Tierney a free rein down that left hand side, also badly contributed to Doherty being very exposed?
Yeah, I think it's part of it, because I don't know if you remember the Fulham game, right? Bale was tracking back and he was like getting stuck in sort of pressing as well, and he wasn't pressing today. And yeah, I think it was just a whole team performance. Really, the whole team wasn't really pressing. Arsenal just looked like they had a lot more desire to win the game, a lot more desire to win the ball back, and we just didn't have it. And you just kind of saw the result coming, because they just weren't in it today, to be honest.
And for me, to turn up to a North London derby like that is inexcusable. It's completely inexcusable. And where do you look at? Where do you look at? Because even when you look at our midfield today, players that we've relied on all season, Højbjerg and Ndombele, where were they today?
Yeah, they were both. They just weren't at the races today. From what we saw today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Hold on.
Were you saying something, Danny?
Yeah, sorry. It was just echoing
Okay.
on my end. Yeah, I just think that they just weren't at it today. That's all. From what I saw, none of them were at it.
How detrimental is this for the rest of the season, our top four hopes, potentially our confidence going into the Europa League and Carabao Cup final?
It depends on how we bounce back. I think top four is going to be very, very difficult now. I mean, we had a small hope. There was a small sort of chance we could do it. But I think if we're going to get top four through the league, I think we're gonna have to rely on other people sort of dropping points again, and then again we have to win our games, and we still got some tough games. I think we've still got Man United soon as well, haven't we? Again,
yeah.
So we've got Villa. That's another tough game.
We've got Everton away soon as well.
Everton away soon. We've got Leicester at the end of the season on the last day, so we've still got some tough games. So it's like, unless we win all our games and other teams drop points, I don't know if we're going to do it, to be honest with you. I think they've really got to focus on these cup competitions now. Like I think Alex was saying, we've got to go for the Europa League and the Carabao Cup. It's the only chance of kind of redemption really this season. I think the Europa League is the big one, because that brings Champions League football, it brings the money, and it also gives, if you want my honest opinion, I think that trophy is what will maybe sway Kane's mind in terms of staying at Spurs or something like that. Because I mean, do you honestly think, right, if we finish, say, 7th in the table, we don't win a trophy, do you really think Kane sees a future or opportunities to win trophies at Spurs if we don't win the Europa League. That's the big one. The Carabao Cup, right? It's all well and good. It's all nice to have in a Carabao Cup, but it doesn't give you anything like, say, the Europa League does with the Champions League football. And essentially, that's what Daniel Levy wants. He wants that money and the revenue from that you get from the Champions League, but it also helps towards our sort of transfer spendings in the summer, because from what I was reading recently, that a lot of our sort of transfer targets are going to be depend on who goes out the club. So we know that there's going to be potentially could be quite a few players that are going to leave, but that Europa League is so crucial, I think, this season now.
And in terms of bringing players in, it probably heavily relies on that Champions League money as well. So
100%, 100%.
So look, I mean, things are not good today, but onwards and upwards. Let's hope we can bounce back from this. Danny, thanks a lot for coming on, man.
Danny.
Cheers, guys.
Good to see you, mate.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
We've got
Keep
a
the
super
faith.
chat here from Kuva99. He says, Are we a better team than we were at the end of last season? We're still outside the top 4 for a reason. Today's North London derby was disgraceful.
I mean, we finished 6th last season.
Yeah,
we're probably going to finish around 6th again this season.
Yeah, well, all depends on the trophies, isn't it? All depends if we can get a trophy under the belt. All depends whether we had it. And Colin Lumsden, just for the super chat, says the squad isn't good enough. We shouldn't have to play our best players in the Europa League. They've played too much and are playing at 70% at best.
All right, let's get Ariane on. Ariane, shocking defeat in the North London derby today. How do you assess that performance?
I mean, minute 1, it looked like there was only one winner. Honestly, they started driving forward so much better, much more pressing. I mean, I thought first 5 minutes, maybe we're going to get into it later, but it just didn't seem like it was going to happen. And I mean, look, I know that he was not the only player to perform poorly tonight, but Matt Doherty, what on earth are you doing? Like, you've got to be such a poor player. He gets man of the match shouts for the wrong team. He was so poor tonight. So poor. It looked like it was like nobody was there. He was lost. He was ball watching from completely out of position every single time Kieran Tierney got that ball. It was like there was nobody there. It's like we're playing against the Invisible Man right there. It's unreal. I was getting so pissed off. And honestly, I think that was the biggest thing Mourinho got wrong. I think the team selection bar that was probably the exact same everybody else would pick. But that just ended up being the difference. Having Matt Doherty there, who is just has nothing to offer. He offered literally nothing. At least to us. To Arsenal, he offered everything. He offered the whole back line to them. But I mean, to us,
it was atrocious.
It was awful. And let's just not focus on him, though, because I think it's unfair. He was definitely the only player who performed poorly tonight. You guys mentioned the midfielders, Højbjerg and Ndombele. I think out of those two, Højbjerg was very average, and I think Ndombele was poor. I think he was worse. I think he was the worst of the two midfielders. He was giving the ball away. I mean, he stopped. One thing I won't forget is Lucas dribbled past maybe 2 or 3 players, right? And he gave it to somebody. I think they gave it to Ndombele. I think it was Lamela to Ndombele, who just passes it right to an Arsenal player.
And when he was in space, I remember that. Yeah, he was in so much space.
And he just
first time.
Oh my God! I yelled
doing my head in
so loud.
Yeah, I was doing my head in when I saw that. I agree with you.
And it's such a contrast from. I remember when Coco scored that goal. I was running laps around my house screaming Lamela, right? And it was like the best moment of my life. And then you have that, and it's just such a poor moment. I mean, it was so poor. Like honestly, Lucas and Lamela were our 2 good players tonight, and you would have given it to Sanchez if he didn't make that mistake in the box. And
do you think it was a penalty, Ariane?
I think it was. I don't think you can complain about either decision. I think it was a 50-50. I think if that was us, I would be calling for the penalty to be given. That's how I look at it, and I think that's a penalty. I think you guys said if VAR had to check that, they wouldn't give it. So it's not a clear and obvious error from the referee, in my opinion. I think it's dumb to go for that. I think it's a dumb dive into the challenge. What are you doing there? He missed the ball.
I agree. I think he completely was very rash in that Sanchez. But I thought he had a good game apart from that. But what Mourinho was commenting today about the lack of intensity, he said, was there a lack of intensity? And he said 200% he agrees with that. There was a lack of intensity. And then he brings off Bell 55 minutes in. He brings off Ndombele after an hour. Why Is it an application issue with these players? Why weren't they putting in enough into the team to give the team that intensity that we needed?
The Ndombele sub I fully supported. I think he was very poor, but I was so upset at the Bale substitution, and I really was. And I think that was because it was an attempt to protect Doherty. And I was getting pissed off because why are you protecting him? Get him off. Bring Aurier on. Bring Tanganga on. I don't know if Tanganga or Aurier was. I know Aurier was on the bench, but I don't know if Tanganga was. Get either of them two on, and that is a different game. Trying to protect Doherty you can't polish a turd. You can't. Get him off. He doesn't deserve to be on that pitch. You bring Aurier on. Oh, go on.
No, I was just about to say, when you make those subs that we did as well, bringing on Sissoko, putting him in double pivot, taking off Ndombele as well, leaving us with a double pivot of Højbjerg, Sissoko, as soon as you go 2-1 down, does it not make those substitutes like completely mute? Because how are you getting back into the game with that kind of pivot?
Well, funny enough, we actually got right back into the game after that goal, which it just shows like that. I think what that shows more than anything is that this isn't something you can point at. I think Josie got the team selection wrong because of that Doherty decision, but you can't point at Josie for this because I guarantee you, I will bet anything you want on this that there's no way he said stick to whatever it is and whatever the scoreline is at 80 minutes, start playing football. That's not what he said. And if he comes out and says we were playing awful in the first half and awful for about the first 30 minutes of the second half, right? If he comes out and says that, then that just proves that it's these players. They have absolutely no mentality to go out there. It's a North London derby. We're 2-1 down in the 60th minute, and these players don't do anything until we're 10 men down. You got nothing to lose. Go forward. Mm-hmm. What are they doing? I was so upset. We were lucky it was only 2-1 now. Honestly, this could have been headlines. Arsenal paint North London red. North London is bleeding 5-1 victory. It could have been. It really could have been.
Yeah, I agree. And what do you think this means for our top four hopes? Is you think it's over for that, or just to have a slight outside chance?
It's not over. A lot of other teams drop points, and West Ham are probably. I think United are probably favorites in that game, so they might drop points as well. So it just depends on how that goes. It's still possible. I think was there 10, 11 games in the season yet left? I'm not exactly sure.
For us, I think we got 10 left.
Okay, well, that's still 30 points up for grabs. I'm not going to count anything out yet, but it looks really bad. And we're going to have to start putting a few more eggs in the Europa League basket instead of the top four basket because we need Champions League football sooner than later because it gets so much money and attracts players, and we need that clearly because this squad is just not good enough for anything major. I don't care who you bring in, whether you want to say Jose out, right? I'm starting to see a case for that. I'm still very fully Jose in, but I'm starting to see the perspective of Jose outs. And I still say that I don't care who you bring in. Whoever you believe is the greatest manager in the world at this time, this squad does not deserve any higher place than maybe 5th or 6th or 4th on a good, maybe if you really get the best out of them. And this team does not deserve any major trophy whatsoever. So if you really want to achieve anything, you need Champions League football, and you need players that have any sort of caliber to get in it. Because these defenders especially, we've got one decent right back, and Aurier is a good right back. I don't think he's anywhere near the level we want to be. Though he's great, but he's not amazing. And we've got our center backs are average. They are. And that just having that as the foundation of the team will not work. And it showed perfectly today because our midfielders, I think, our midfielders, wingers, and attackers, yes, they were poor today, but I think that was only amplified by the fact that the defense would only hoof it up to the Arsenal players every time it came our way anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
What were they supposed to do when they couldn't even control the ball? And that's why I was so mad at the Bale substitution, because he can't do anything when Doherty is taking the ball, misplacing a pass, or giving to Sanchez who hoofs it off the pitch. What is he supposed to do then?
All right. Nice one, Ariane.
Thanks
Good
a lot,
to speak
man.
to you as always.
Guys.
Shame it wasn't the result we wanted, but we'll speak to you again soon.
All right, it's time for Jack. Let's get Jack, the Canadian
Let me just speak to the
Spur.
super chat. Let me just read the super chat from Jerome.
Sorry, the Canadian Spur. We're just reading the super chat first, then we'll get to you.
Jerome,
but you are live.
Floridor says, I'm sorry to say this, but we should not have signed Doherty as he is a right wing back, not a right back. However, we can't just blame him. Tactics were poor and the whole team was poor. Lamella from hero to zero. Canadian Spur. How are we doing?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
We can hear you. How are you, my
right.
friend?
Good. So
Go on, assess that performance for me.
I will start with Maria's selection. If you want to start Doherty and you think that he's fit more than Aurier, do not start with Bale. because they both attack. There's no defense. So like, start with Lamela if you want to start with Doherty. But I still like think that he should have started with Oria.
Yeah, I completely
Yeah, I
agree.
agree with that.
Yeah.
In terms of the attitude on the pitch and the application on the pitch, what do you put that down to? Why were we
Like-
so lethargic today?
There's no way Jose told them to sit back because the lineup, it's really offensive. You know, you have Ndombele, you have the four that we've been starting with, like in the front, Bale, Kane, Son. There's no way that he wanted to sit back. If he wanted to sit back, he would have started with Lamela. He would have started with Sissoko, with Højbjerg, and Ndombele as a number 10. There's no way he wanted to sit back. But the players showed no intensity except Lucas Moura and Lamela when he got in. So, yeah.
How hard is this to take for you? Obviously, we come into this game with our tails up, 3 wins on the bounce in the league. Arsenal come into it and not in such great form, and then they just won it so much more than us. How hard is that to take, and how detrimental is that to our top 4 hopes?
Which is real weird because we needed the points. We are fighting for top 4. It's a North London derby.
Yeah.
Chelsea drew with Leeds. West Ham gonna lose from Manchester United. Everton lost 2-1 to Burnley. There's like no more motivation to motivate the players. You know, you need the 3 points. Everyone above you like lost points, so this is the best chance for you to jump to the front 4. Which is, you know, if the players lost and they showed some mentality, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But the first half is just, they don't deserve to wear like the Spurs t-shirt, especially Doherty. Oh my God. Like,
I
we
completely
were
agree with
blessed.
you.
We were blessed to finish the first half 1-1. Like when we scored, we did not deserve to score. And I said, you know, finishing the first half with that performance, 1-1, we have a chance in the second half. Then they come in and sloppy passes.
Yeah. No, look, I completely agree with you, and I'm just lost for words with that performance. I mean, it's inexcusable to put that kind of performance in a North London derby. Never mind in any other game, because it's inexcusable to put it in any other game, but especially
Absolutely.
a North London derby where it's such a big game for us. Like you said, fighting for top 4. If we win this game, we're 3 points outside the top 4 with the game in hand. I mean, it's just a complete joke. But how detrimental is it in the top 4 race? Do you reckon it's over now?
To be honest, I think it is over because I don't think Chelsea is going to lose the 2 matches because we are going to lose at least 2 matches, to be honest. Manchester United and Leicester City with this performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't think Chelsea will lose 6 points, to be honest with you. They don't play well all the matches, but it's hard for them to lose. At least they draw. For us, each mistake is a goal.
Yeah.
So
That's how it works. All right.
All right, Canadian Spur. Thanks for coming on, man.
Cheers for coming on,
thank
mate.
you. Thank you, guys.
Speak
Cheers,
to you in a
mate.
bit.
All right, who we got next, Joe? All right, Hayden next.
Hayden.
How's it going, Hayden? You all right, mate?
How we doing, guys? You all right?
Absolutely gutted.
Yeah, could have been better.
Obviously, we've got battered by Arsenal today, regardless of what the scoreline says. It was only 2-1, but it could have been a lot more. What do you put that performance down to? How do you assess the performance?
I just don't understand why we set up how we did. Like, we've been playing on the front foot for the last 4 or 5 games, playing good football. Everything's been going pretty well, and then we come out of the blocks. After 10 minutes, I'm just looking at the team like, what is going on? Like, why are we doing this? Like, before today, you'd say Arsenal are probably slightly better than Palace. Like, they're not that much better. So why are we not playing like we did against Palace? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, we come out of the blocks, we're playing like we're playing against Man City. Like, if we set up like that against, you know, your Mahrez's, your Foden's, Bernardo Silva's, and all them lot, you kind of understand why.
Yeah.
To set up like that against, so they had Lacazette up front. Okay, he's bang average. He's not been playing that well. They've then got 3 youngsters behind that centre forward. Why are they a threat? Why are we sitting back against them?
Yeah, look, I completely agree with you. But do you put that down to Jose, or do you put that down to the players, or is it a mixture of both?
I think it's Jose, to be honest. Like, I think, honestly, like, I think as soon as we play anyone that is deemed as like a slight threat, he just tells them to sit back, and I just like I don't want to say it's him, because the last few games I've been getting a lot of hope up, like we've been playing good football, like everything's been going pretty well. But then today we come out the blocks against Arsenal, who are 10th in the league. They're literally a mid-table club, and we set up like that. Like it makes absolutely no sense. Like,
Wait, Hayden, you say it's down to Jose, but when for the first 25 minutes, there was no pressing from the forward line. You saw that we were standing back and we were just allowing Arsenal to play. And then as soon as Eric Lamela comes on, you saw that pressing that he was giving to the team. He was in their faces, in the defenders' faces, winning things, nicking things. So he was clearly being told to press a lot far higher up. And he said in his post-match press conference that we needed to press more and be more intense in the game, and that's why he brought on Sissoko and he brought on Dele Alli and things like that. So is that not showing that he's saying to the players, you need to be pressing more, you need to be more intense in your pressing, and the players weren't doing it?
To be honest, I missed what he said after the game because I was so annoyed with everything. I literally walked out at 90 minutes. I was like, I'm done. But for me, yeah, Lamela came on and he pressed, which was great, but it was only him who was pressing.
Yeah.
Whereas in the previous games, you have Lucas pressing. He's like the main guy who presses, and then the other players around him are kind of getting the vibe off him that they need to press as well. And it worked well as a team. Whereas today, as you said, Lamela came on. Yeah, I 100% agree. It changed. Lamela pressed, but it was only really him that was doing it. So for me, it's a bit like, did Jose say, right, what we'll do is we'll sit back for the first half, and what we'll do is we'll try and get them in the second half when they're a bit tired. But the problem was we let a goal in before half time. So I don't really know. That's the problem. Like, I'd like to think that he didn't say it, but the fact that against Palace, Fulham, and Burnley, we went out from the start on the front foot. We tried to press. Against Burnley, obviously we got 4 goals. Fulham was a bit harder, obviously. And then Palace, we got another 4 goals. But today, it should have been right. Go again, press from the front, try and get 2 goals in the first half an hour, and then maybe rearrange the game and see what's going on. But it just felt like from the get-go we were playing Bayern Munich. We weren't. We were playing Arsenal, who are 10th. It makes absolutely no sense. And I think the players may be partly to blame. Maybe they were just a bit frightened of if they let a goal in, how everyone would react to it. But I don't want to say it, but I do believe that Jose said from the get-go, you need to sit back and we need to absorb. And then later on in the game, maybe when they're tired, that's when you can try and get them for their mistakes. So last few games, obviously everyone's been getting kind of their hopes up and whatever, and I have as well. Like, top 4's back on, people are dropping points and whatnot. But now, when you look at it, if he's gonna tell the team to sit back when we're playing someone who's 10th, I mean, it's just like, how on earth are we ever going to get top 4? Like, it's just.
Is it completely dead for you, top 4 now? Do you reckon?
I don't think it's completely dead, but that's only because people are dropping points left, right, and centre. Yeah. The problem that I've got is now I worry that as soon as we play anyone that's above us or around us, he'll tell us to do this defensive start and then try and get teams on the break. Yeah. Whereas we've shown against lesser teams, say Burnley and Palace, if we attack from the start, go on the front foot, try and score goals, we can get 4 goals against the lower teams. So surely if we do that against the teams that are around us or maybe even a little bit above us, we go at them, we can get 1 or 2 goals. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't really add up to me. It's just a bit honestly, one of the main reasons why I've come on here tonight, I'm just trying to figure out why, it'd be good to hear from you boys. Why do you think that we went into this game sitting on the back foot?
I think for me, I don't think it was an intentional thing. I think that we intended to go into the game pressing like we have been, but I think Arsenal are a clearly higher caliber team than Palace and Burnley, and they were and with Bale, his press not being that intense, and with other passengers like Ndombele, also their presser was very off it. It was completely off it. And when teams like Arsenal, when they beat our press, then we do sit back. Then we do say, okay, they've beaten our press. We have to revert into this shape where we're sitting back and absorbing pressure. And that's why he wasn't happy with a lot of the forward players who were basically not pressing as what he'd wanted to. And we don't. I feel like in this team, we just don't have the right profile of player at the moment against real top teams to have a real intense press on us, and that's how a lot of the top teams play at the moment. And I feel like the squad needs to be moulded a bit so we have players with a bit more energy, a bit more legs about them, and they can press with a bit more intensity. Because at the moment, when we come up against teams who can play around our press, we struggle a hell of a lot.
I get that, and you say that we need to get players in that can press more, and that's completely understandable. But you say that, but then it's like, right, okay, we need players that can press more from the front. So we've got Son, you won't drop him. You've got Kane, you're not dropping him.
Well, Son went off after 20 minutes, didn't he?
Yeah. But still, like, Bale, you're not going to drop him. Like, Højbjerg on form, you're not dropping him. And Ndombele on form, you're not dropping him. So it's like, it's almost like, who do we drop? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't quite add up. I just don't quite get what the solution would be in regards to having play. It's almost like we need 5 Lamellas up front that have all got more ability of Son. Do you know what I mean? Like Son, Kane.
I also do feel that if we were to transform this defence, new centre backs, a new right back, then the whole team can actually be regalvanised and retransformed, and the whole team can actually put more trust in that defence and help them push on even more.
Yeah,
I do agree. Like, Doherty starting today was the only issue I had with the team.
Yeah.
Obviously, Aurier played the 90 minutes on Thursday, so coming into the game, I was a little bit like, is Doherty going to start?
Yeah, but you know, Aurier should be physical enough to play 90 minutes in a week. Come on, man.
Exactly.
So,
like,
Toby Alderweireld played 3 in a week last week.
Exactly. I thought Aurier played 90 minutes on Thursday to get his fitness up to play this game.
Yeah.
But he didn't play. Like, I think if Aurier obviously played like 70 minutes on Thursday, you'd think, right, he's going to start. But the fact he played the 90 on Thursday, then today it kind of like I came into it, I was a bit like, is Doherty going to play? And he did. And then obviously, I mean, I'm not gonna echo what everyone thinks about Doherty, but I mean, we all think the same thing, really, don't we? So
yeah,
it's just we need to. I feel like Aurier is good, but he's not a Reguilon of the right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we need another right back. That's plain and simple.
We need a Reguilon equivalent on the right hand side.
Yeah,
that's basically what we need, and I think we need one centre back who is world class, and then I'd even argue we need to get another one in who's going to be kind of, you know, good in the next kind of, I don't know, 2 to 3 years. Obviously, Rodon's there as well, so maybe we don't, but it's hard to see how that's going to go. But I just think, for me today, the overriding thing was I just could not understand why we set up how we did. It was just absolutely baffling. First 10 minutes, I was watching it and I was like, why are we sitting back? Like, why are we sitting back? Palace, yeah. Palace aren't as good as Arsenal. That's fair enough. But they're not miles worse. Like, they're not miles worse. Like, before today, Palace were 1 point behind them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So you look at that and you think, right, we should maybe be a little bit more cautious, but still go out on the front foot. And we just didn't do it. And it was just like, why are we not pressing more from the front? Mora, the first 10 minutes, I was like, right, Mora's going to set the tone for this game. If Mora presses from the front, that's what we're going to do all game. And he wasn't doing it. And I was like, right, I now know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you could see we weren't in this game from the very get-go today. You could see.
You just knew it. The first 10 minutes, I was like, right, this is going to set the tone. Mora wasn't pressing. Kane wasn't pressing, although Kane's a bit further forward, so he doesn't press as much. But Mora wasn't pressing, and Ndombele didn't really look up to it. Højbjerg kept making mistakes, and it was just a bit like, right, okay, so we're just going to sit back now. And then I thought, right, so maybe he's telling them sit back for the first 20 minutes. and then maybe try and get them when they're a little bit more leggy and gave them maybe a bit of like, false confidence. But no, after 30 minutes, we're still sitting back. Before half time, they got a goal and then they were still sitting back. Right, second half, let's go out, pressing from the front. We looked a bit better at the start of the second half.
5 minutes.
Yeah, for 5 minutes, exactly. And then after that, it was, right, sit back again. And then obviously they've got the penalty. In my eyes, it's not a pen. The problem is the new rule is that if there is a foul in any part of the play, including after the ball's been kicked, it's classed as a penalty. It happened with PSG Barca the other night. So that's now part of the rules, which I don't think is right, obviously, because if the ball's been kicked and it's gone out of play, how are you given a penalty for it? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, it's just, for me today, the setup from the get-go was just absolutely baffling. Just could not get my head around it.
All right, Hayden. Thanks a lot
Nice
for
one,
coming on,
Hayden.
mate.
Sorry.
Cheers, mate.
We got a super chat from Brad Matthews saying, since topping the table, we have lost to Liverpool twice, Chelsea, West Ham and Arsenal. That's a real worry. I find today's defeat difficult to take.
Yeah, I mean, I completely echo his thoughts, man. I'm completely distraught. And I'm not distraught with the scoreline. I'm really not.
I mean,
distraught.
you are distraught with the scoreline.
Look, let me finish what I'm saying. I'm not distraught with the scoreline. I'm distraught with the pure attitude that they showed on that pitch today, because that is what was wrong with that performance. I mean, look, the scoreline was 2-1, and it could have been 2-2. It could have been anything today. Arsenal didn't put away their chances, and we had a few chances which we could have put away. We even could have nicked a draw at the end of the game today. We looked good with 10 men in the last 5 minutes, or better anyway. I wouldn't say good. But it's in terms of the actual passion and desire to show that in a North London derby, it's just not good enough whatsoever.
I was disappointed in our big players today.
Ndombele, Højbjerg, Kane
and Bale.
All of them. Not
all
good
of them.
enough.
That's what I was disappointed with. Those are the players I was really disappointed with
agree,
today.
especially Ndombele.
Yeah, he
especially
just didn't turn
Ndombele,
up.
because
he didn't turn up.
The pure, like, the skills that he has, and every time he even got it past a man and we looked like he was going to do something, it was a bad pass.
He can take it past someone like Granit Xhaka for fun. I'm sorry, he can with his ability, and he didn't bring his A game today. And I really thought first North London derby he was going to be out to show what he can do, and he was so poor. It was so frustrating to see that.
Let's get Jack on. Jack.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey Jack.
Not good, Jack. Not good.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I mean, look, how do you assess that game? What do you put it down to?
At a certain point, you got to put it down to the tactics and maybe the player picks or the 11 that Jose picked today. It was kind of obvious towards the 20 minutes in, just seeing Emile Smith-Rowe take the inside route on Doherty, and then also Tierney simultaneously going around the outside of him on the wing. And so that's why he was so overwhelmed, not really giving him much of an excuse, because it's not like Sergei Reguilon wasn't probably dealing with the same thing, but he can just deal with maybe two players a bit better. And
they weren't even trying to come down Reguilon's side. It was all down Doherty's side.
Yeah, and it's almost maybe the sign for this was maybe the Fulham game when Joachim Andersen also kept switching it back to Doherty's side every time and doing the exact same thing with Ademola Lookman and Phillips. So I don't know. It's the pressing in the beginning was pretty woeful, and I agree with a lot of people. I don't see why Jose would tell them not to press, especially when we know that they're capable of mistakes. And also in the case of David Luiz and defenders like that, when David Luiz isn't pressed, he's actually a pretty decent player. When he is pressed, he's actually can easily make a mistake and easily give the ball away. But when you give him all the time in the world, he can actually ping it pretty well, just like any other center back can. And that was kind of frustrating for me. And then also seeing, like a lot of people have mentioned, it just seemed like Tanguy was kind of hiding today, and it didn't seem like he was really up for it. He wasn't showing for the ball as much as I know he can. Even like Sissoko, who was awful when he received the ball, looked like he was still showing for the ball more than Tanguy did. And I think this was a really unique game for Tanguy, because I've never really seen him kind of really trudge around like that before, except for maybe the last season or the last campaign. So, and also the other frustrating thing is sometimes games like these, Tanguy will try to get past 3 or 4 players to get into the game. But in derbies like this, the the referee's not going to give you the call sometimes that he's looking for. And I think that's what was also frustrating.
In terms of referee calls, what did you make of the penalty?
Kind of like you guys had said, I think maybe my new perspective on it would be Lacazette is lucky that he did kind of just swing and whiff that, because maybe the challenge that Sanchez was putting in possibly could have blocked that shot if he had made contact with it. And at the end of the day, Lacazette's kind of lucky to get a penalty. Regardless, though, he is flying into them. And if at full time, when you were watching it the first time at full speed, it looked like a penalty. And it's debatable enough not to reverse the decision for me.
It's really frustrating. But you said you can't imagine Jose told the players not to press, and that's exactly what he said in his post-match comments, that the team needed more intensity. That's why he brought on Sissoko and he brought on Dele and he took off Bale and he took off Ndombele, because they weren't giving the side the intensity they needed. And in the first half, he said it was woeful. He said the pressing from the team. But who's at fault for why the players at the front of the pitch aren't doing what is required to kind of force mistakes from the back line and make sure that Arsenal don't build up a head of steam? And we end up dropping back. But is that Jose's fault, or is that more the players' fault, do you think?
I mean, I at the beginning it sounded like I really defended Jose, and at the end of the day, I really do think he is mostly to blame for maybe the tactics or the 11 that he picked out. Again, I don't think that he told them to sat back and not press in the way that they did, but I think he probably did give them some type of tactic of maybe being wary or, try to take notice of any Arsenal attacks or counters. Maybe he did want them to sit back a bit, but even when you sit back, you can still press. Like it's not like when you sit back, you don't press. You can still press once they cross the halfway line. You don't have to press them deep in their own half. There are different types of styles of pressing that you can go for. And there were just certain players on the pitch. This is where Jose isn't to blame for. There are certain players on the pitch that just simply were not up for it in that pressing regard. And when you are pressing players on the inside of your own pitch, it is a bit easier. So players like Tanguy, so players like Doherty can just be, I don't know. I think they're things that you can blame Jose for, obviously, and then there are things that you really got to blame individual players for. And I think Doherty, Tanguy, unfortunately, even though I love Tanguy, and maybe Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane offensively, you could blame him because he just wasn't doing that false nine role that we usually expect him to do. He seemed to just be kind of sitting up top waiting for something to come to him, which is fine, but he wasn't doing the type of role that I usually expect him to do and the one we're used to as well.
Yeah, really frustrating. In terms of our top four hopes now, 6 points away from Chelsea with a game in hand. West Ham playing Man United as we speak. It's currently 0-0 going towards half-time in that one. How detrimental was that result to our top four hopes? And are you still hopeful we can still be in that race come the end of the season?
It's difficult because we have a difficult last, I think, 7 games. And at the same time, so do Chelsea. Chelsea's is actually even more. I looked at it; it was actually harder than ours. Same with Everton's. Everton's is pretty difficult. So, but it would be difficult to catch Chelsea, especially with how boring they've been playing and scratching out 0-0s or 1-0s. So it would be hard to imagine us catching them. They still have a difficult schedule ahead, but I at this point feel like we have to prioritize probably the Europa League, because at least we know that Jose is really good in tournaments. He is good at the 2-leg ties. He's good in the one match or the 1-leg tie as well. And so I could see us maybe prioritizing the Europa League at this point.
All right, Jack. Thanks a lot, mate, as always. And we'll see you for the press conference for Zagreb, hopefully.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say I really liked your Lee Judges video, by the way. I thought, kind of on the lighter side of things, I thought that was really entertaining, and hopefully something like that in the future again. But obviously that was kind of unique, and just thought that was great content.
All right, thanks Jack.
A lot, Jack.
Really appreciate that. Appreciate the feedback. Nice one. We'll speak to you soon.
All right, it's time for the Tottenham teacher.
Tottenham teacher, what can he teach us today?
Let's see what lessons we can learn today from the Tottenham teacher.
The whole team's in detention, I think, after that.
Yeah, I mean, Ndombele, Højbjerg, Doherty is definitely in detention today. What are you saying about that?
What lessons we can learn today from the Tottenham teacher.
I think there's a bit of an echo. Have you got the stream playing in there, Tottenham teacher? Is he there?
There's a lag. I think there's a lag on it. No, I can't hear him now.
Is he there? Let's go to the next guest and see if he can sort out his connection. And let's
Oh,
get on
shame.
Brian.
That's a shame.
Hello?
Oh, now.
Hello.
Yes,
All right,
Brian.
hi,
How's it going, mate?
We'll talk to Brian first. Hey.
Yeah, not going good, my boys. How are you?
Yeah, I mean, thoughts are echoed,
Why aren't you
man.
shaving? You should shave your hair now.
I will be today, trust me.
Brian, look, absolutely disastrous display against those lot down the road today. It's just not acceptable, is it, Brian?
No, I'm ashamed. I'm furious. I'm disappointed. How they can't be pumped up for a North London derby, going into form like this and put a performance like that out, it's disgusting.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. But what do you put that down to? The instructions not to press and the way we played. Do you put that down to Jose, or is that application from the players?
Well, we've all spoken about Doherty, and the only thing I will say is Aurier should have come on at halftime straight away. That should have been the
100%.
sub he should have made. I don't know what he's done. I think he's tried to play a block with a attacking team. I think he's tried to get the best of both worlds, and they just didn't understand what to do.
Mm.
Yeah. But in terms of like the pressing, like Mourinho's been commenting after the game about the big forward players who have been hiding today, and the lack of intensity that he wanted from the team. Who's at fault for that? Is it Mourinho for the way he set it up, or is it the players for not being as intense in the pressing that he needs them to be? Are they the wrong profile player? What do you put it down to?
I'm going to put it down to the players this time, because we've all been singing the praises when it's been going well. It didn't go right today. Kane and Bale were non-existent entirely. Son going off is a huge blow. Mora looked impressive before he got put out wide. So you've got to be able to give some slack to the big players as well when they deserve it, and I think Kane deserves it.
Yeah, it was such a dejecting performance, especially the way we were just outdone at the flanks. Tactically, I felt Arteta knew exactly what to do against this kind of team against us. And he knew, as he said in his post-match interview, he knew where to hurt us. And they literally, every one of their attacks was coming from our right-hand side. And it was, although Doxy's come on for a lot of criticism, does Bale have to take a lot of responsibility, because he didn't really track Tierney a lot, and Tierney was allowed a free run pretty much every time.
He does deserve some slack. I mean, Arsenal, you've got to give them their credit. From minute one, they were all over us. They were. We just couldn't live with them, and you've got to give them credit for that. I actually thought at one point Bale was going to work in our favour not coming back, because obviously he'd be free. But they completely put a plan in action, and we just couldn't breathe. We couldn't get on the second ball. Smith Rowe was all over us from the minute go. We just couldn't breathe, and we just didn't do any changes. I can't remember being so furious at a North London derby in a long time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, Brian. Is that top four done for you now?
Oh, completely. We just got to put all our eggs in one basket for Europa. We've got to forget the top four. It just goes to show we don't have the squad to try and compete with both. He's got to go all his eggs in one basket and all out Europa.
Mm. All right, Brian. I mean, what else can we say? Can we?
Shocking.
Well, I'll see you with a shaved head, ready for the next one.
I'm looking forward to it, Brian.
Onwards and upwards, Brian. Come on, you Spurs.
And you boys, take care.
See you
later,
Brian.
mate. Who we got next, Joe?
Is Tottenham teacher back, or? No, he's gone. He went? Yeah. All right.
Who we got? Oh, we got Bob Spur next. Just give us a second, Bob. We'll get you on. But look, I mean, these streams are really hard to do after we lose, especially like that. It's just hard to just keep going. It really is
difficult, man. After a performance like that, it was really difficult to watch and to try and dissect. And you were dissecting bloody Arsenal being better than us. I mean,
but not just better than us. They smashed us today, regardless of the scoreline. They smashed us today in every area of the pitch. Let's get Bob on. Let's get Bob on. Bob, how's it going, mate?
Pretty shit, actually, if I'm honest, lads.
Yeah, I know how you're feeling. But look, how do you assess that today?
I know a lot of people are looking at the tactics, team selection, and the players themselves. I think you have to look at the whole picture. You know, players didn't turn up today. That's a fact.
Yeah.
you have to question. I mean, lots been said about who told the players not to press, or were they told not to press. My question would be, if they were told not to press, seeing that our last 5 games, our most success has come from pressing, why were they told not to press? And if they were told to press and they didn't, what does that say about Jose's authority? So it's a case. And obviously, he can't legislate for players not turning up, but it's a chance gone. I think you can't underestimate the fact that Arsenal had no supporters in as well, no fans in as well. That was so in our favour, because they always turn up for a North London game. So I can't understand why Doherty played ahead of Aurier. To an extent, I could at the beginning, because I thought he'd probably play the role that Davis played at the beginning towards the end of last season, and the beginning of this season, alongside the centre backs, giving Aurier the chance to bomb forward. I think today, possibly Doherty was going to play closer to the centre backs with Reguilon, but he was nowhere to be seen. He couldn't attack, he couldn't defend. His passes were going astray. His headers were coming in that was missing. Headers that he could have gone for, he was letting go. But that's not down to form. That's the quality of Doherty, unfortunately. The rest, like
Bob,
you said.
Bob, everyone's coming on and kind of lay it on Doherty, and quite rightly so. Quite rightly so. But you've got performances out there from players like Ndombele, Højbjerg, Harry Kane, Gareth Bell. Players that we've pretty much relied on all season, and they did not turn up for 1 second of that game. And how could you warrant for that? What do you put that down to? I don't understand it.
Mate, all we can do is speculate. We can give opinions and speculate. There's only one person who can answer that. It's Jose and the players themselves.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they? It's a hard question to ask. You're playing North London rivals.
Yeah.
How could you not get up for this game? No one else can answer that, but apart from the players themselves. And it's very hard to carry just one player in a North London derby. To carry potentially 5 players who weren't. I know you're going to be doing player ratings tomorrow, and
that's going to be brutal. I promise you that is going to be brutal tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, apart from Lucas, who probably get above 5, I'll be surprised if you give anyone a 5, guys.
Lucas and Lamella, potentially Davinson Sanchez as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Apart from that,
that's it. So the questions, all we do is speculate. I just want to ask Jose. Well, I know he's agreed with the media to say that he's totally accepts that the intensity wasn't there in the first half. My question would be, why? Did it come from the players? Did Jose tell him to drop off? If he didn't tell him to drop off, why did they drop off? What is he getting? What is he getting across clearly in the
I refuse to believe it, Bob. I refuse to believe it. I refuse to believe that the instruction from Jose Mourinho was not to be intense and not to press. Yeah. It does not make sense.
And then my question would be, why? Listen, you know what my feelings towards Jose. I've been Jose out in the last 5 games. I've said to the likes of David, he is slowly changing my mind. There's a bit of credit at the bank now. For me, I've realised, without sounding hypocritical, the only way I can say it is I'm Tottenham in. Yeah. I want Tottenham I want it to be under Jose because I don't want any changes at this time of the season. I want it to be a continuation and a bit of continuous similar faces and change room. So I'm Tottenham in, and I also said, the last 5 games I did kind of expect us to win, regardless of the position and regardless of their form. It's the harder games that the challenge will come in against the Arsenals and to be fair, the Villas, the Man Uniteds. And to me, he and the players, both combined, have failed in the first hurdle of these upcoming harder games. Fortunately, we've got a month's break after the Zagreb game before the final, so hopefully he can try and sort something out. But he won't have any players, will he?
Yeah, I mean, Bob, we've only beaten since we've beaten Southampton. We have not beaten one side that have been above us this season.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you put that down to? I mean, that is just not good enough, is it?
Well, is it a big game mentality from the players? Is it a tactical switch that Jose's probably trying to do or put in place against the bigger teams? But I wouldn't even call today's game against a bigger side. They're an average Arsenal side.
But it's a big game because it's a North London derby.
Yesterday.
That's what it is.
Exactly. But it's not against a bigger team. But I was doing combined 11 yesterday. And I said, for the first time in 30 odd years, I'd be quite comfortable choosing a Tottenham 11.
Yeah.
Easily. And I'll be confident, and I'll make my arguments and valid arguments by choosing a full Tottenham 11 for the first time in 30 odd years.
Yeah.
So to not turn up, and I know we created chances at the end, we could have nicked a draw. It would have just papered over some cracks of a really, really poor performance. I bet Arsenal can believe the way we didn't press. And I sent you a message 7 minutes in asking you where's the press gone. I couldn't believe it.
And
I'm sure the Arsenal fans couldn't.
So frustrating as well, because you look at the way Burnley scored. That was because
Exactly,
they
mate.
pressed them. And look at the way
Spot on.
Olympiacos scored on Thursday. That's because they pressed them. And
I'm saying, you know that if you press Arsenal's defence, they shit the bed every single time.
He's not an idiot.
Every single time.
Yeah. Lads, Arsenal fans have been saying all week, the one thing they're afraid of is the Spurs press and the way we've been at the front foot. Apart from the Fulham second half in the foot against Fulham, we've pressed. We've been on the front foot constantly, and that's one thing that they were really worried about. And I bet I filtered through to the players as well. So they possibly, I know what you're saying, Sim. You know, once you beat the press, that's where we struggle. Mate, we didn't even give them a chance to beat the press because there wasn't any.
Yeah,
agreed.
I completely agree.
Agreed with that.
Is that top four done for you now?
Well, being Spurs, I think being disillusioned and clutching at straws is part and parcel of being a Spurs fan. Until we're mathematically not there, mate, I still believe we'll get it. Purely and simply, I think Hayden said there's other teams around us who are dropping points. There has to be a few teams above us who have to drop points, but yeah, mate, you can't underestimate how big a game the Villa game is. Honestly, that's absolutely massive. It's absolutely massive now. So we just hope Jose can pass the next test against the bigger teams, because like I said, that's where he's going to earn his money. And unfortunately, he and the players, and I will say his players are just as much to blame. They've failed in the first test really against the bigger side. But like you say, Ben,
agreed,
they've been failing it throughout the season, haven't they? Really, mate.
Yeah,
they
no,
did.
completely agree. Bob, thanks a lot for coming on,
Nice
man,
one,
and
Bobby.
everyone go and subscribe to Bob Spur TV as well.
Thank you, mate.
See you in a bit.
Cheers, mate.
Got a few super chats to go through here. Got Kev Williams says, we helped them take us apart. Why did we not turn up? We got Mintu Lee says, despite the red card, Lamela still deserves some praise, and Lucas too. I agree with that. I think they were both our best players, I thought, throughout the game. The only two players actually trying to hound the Arsenal backline and force them into mistakes. So I do agree with that. AT says, in my opinion, Jose's tactics are the problem. Of course, players make individual errors. If we give so many changes, too much space in front of the back four. Today wasn't about individual errors, I don't think, at all. I don't think it wasn't about individual. It was about the team. And Jose definitely has to take responsibility for that. Jerome Abakaya says Jose has to tell them to press high and attack or defend. I think Jose tries too hard to have a balanced game. These players aren't that intelligent. Interesting. Manny Man says, how do I get in line for a post-match interview? If we give priority to our gold members, after the gold members, we do open it up to everyone. But if you subscribe and if you scroll down and click the join button and become a gold member, then you can get in line for
There's
the
also
post-match
a link in
fan
every
show.
description of every video.
Yeah, and in the description as well. So go check that out. And Deck W says, Ben, Sim, we can't compete with bigger teams. We don't have the mentality and the players. Simply as that, most of our players are average. Well, when we had at one point Doherty, Sissoko on the pitch together, that I was thinking, oh God, for God's sake, we got all these people, and they're like, how are we going to get back in this game? But we actually looked better with them on the pitch because they showed more desire and they showed more hunger to kind of hunt the ball down.
Yeah, it was the last 10 minutes. Arsenal was shitting the bed, and we really should have got that equaliser.
We could have. We hit the post
should've.
and had a few chances. Even with 10 men, we probably. But it's just so frustrating that the rest of the game we didn't force any mistakes out of them. But yeah, those are the super chats. Thank you for that.
Let's get Marcelo on. Marcelo,
what can you hype today?
Marcelo, man.
Yeah, look, man.
Break that down for me.
Listen, I've been seeing a lot of negativity, and you know me, I try to be positive. I'm gonna go through the bad, and then the good. Something to pick you guys up, because I do appreciate you guys, because I'm watching, you two, and you guys look absolutely devastated, even more devastated than I am. And I understand this is hard to do, so big up the boys, man.
Thank you, man.
Make sure to like that channel, and show them support, because this is hard, man. I was
Big
in the
up,
Matty Hayes.
Marcelo.
Yeah, I was in the Matty Hayes watch along, and I had to deal with a bunch of gooners coming in. David and I were, we were having a rough time. But look, man, it's it is what it is. We lost them. I'm used to like losing at the Emirates. If I'm gonna be real with you, it's like it's a tough place for us to go to. The Emirates. They always show up at the Emirates, but like not losing like that. You know what I mean? Like that was pathetic, man. We were really pathetic tonight. I couldn't believe what I was watching. We looked like we had no teeth. And and I remember sometimes we gotten slapped up at the Emirates, like 4-2. Like I remember it was like 5-0 or something. I remember it was getting slapped up, and even in those games, we were more threatening. And I was like, man, that was not my Spurs team that went out there. This team is I'm not gonna lie, this team is a lot more capable of that, and I think it was the mentality, man. These guys did not. Højbjerg. He was horrible today, and I love Højbjerg. He's my guy, and he was just playing like very unusual. I don't know what happened. Maybe the pressure was too much on them. Yeah, it was sad, and like Harry Kane. He's the king of the lane. What happened? It was a shocker, man. It was really shocking to watch that, and I was disappointed. I was gutted because I big up this team. I come in week in and week out, and I pick up this team, and they let me down like that, especially against them. I can understand, like, maybe Liverpool or, maybe these other teams, but, against them, you got to show up and play against them. Like in the North London Derby, you have to show up. There's no excuses. Forget tactics. Listen, David and I said this before the game. Forget tactics, forget, quality, forget all this stuff. This is passion, desire. I remember back in the old days when Arsenal had a 10 times the team that we had. 10 times the team that we had. But we were able to get a result through just passion, desire, and just wanting it more. You know what I mean, bro? Like, and we showed none of that tonight, and that was disappointing. But if I want to give out some positives, because it's such a sad
Please,
day.
Marcelo, please, we need it, man.
And listen, top 4 is still on. Whether you like it or not, top 4 is still on. We beat Villa. We're probably like, maybe Chelsea dropped some points. We could be looking at 4 points off the top 4. With how many games? I think like we have 10 games left. Anything can happen. When you're 6 points, behind. That's not, or like I think we're like 6 or 5 points behind, Chelsea. So anything can happen, and we can get a result against Villa. We can bounce back. We showed it many times. We can bounce back, and we're still in Europa League, and we're still in the League Cup final. And the League Cup final, 90 minutes. Listen, if we show up today like we did in the League Cup final, you think you saw a hammering today, we'll proper get hammered. So, but we better show up with passion on that. The Cup final, we show up with passion and desire, we can win it. And then the Europa League. I'm looking around a lot of teams, and yes, there are some good teams, but one win. We get to the semis, or we get to the quarters, and then after that, maybe if we get a weaker team, we can get to the semis, or maybe, it's a knockout game. Anything can happen in a knockout game. So we're still in those competitions. So that's a positive. You know what I mean? It's not over the end of the season yet. And I know today sucks. You're probably telling me, Marcelo, but we lost, to Arsenal. They're poor, they're shit. But like, we've seen this with Arsenal. They beat some, some good teams like Chelsea, United, and all that stuff. They seem to turn up against the bigger team. They usually do that. So it is what it is. It sucks, but for me, I think with Arsenal, yeah, they won the battle today, bro. But we're gonna win the war eventually. I think we're gonna finish above them. I think we're going to win a trophy. I still believe, even though this is a blip in the road. But if you don't believe while you're at your lowest, don't believe when you're at the top. You know what I mean? Like, so I support, I'm Tottenham till I die. I support this team at its lowest. I will support it at its best. And I'm telling you, it's not over yet. We just have to, stick together as a fan base. We can't crumble. Stick together as a fan base, and we can do it.
Marcelo, you hoping to get the Gooners in the Europa League now?
Yeah, bro, we still smashed them up. Listen, look, listen. We beat them. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, aggregate is two. It's what is it? Is it 3-2?
2-1. 2-1.
Yeah. So you know what I mean. We still got that away goal. So you know if we played
yeah.
them home and away, we can still knock them out. You know what I mean?
Damn right.
No. Look. Listen. Obviously they're definitely a better team now than I thought, but. No, I'll still get them. You know what I mean? Like Jose is, he'll bounce back, man. Today he was a little bit naive tactically. I think, we just the way we were shaped, we weren't shaped to press at all. And you guys said it, pressing Arsenal was how you beat them. I think today we just weren't set up properly. But managers get it wrong sometimes. Players, they have the off day, although this is unforgivable. You should never have an off day in a North London derby, but it does happen, and we move forward, bro. That's the only thing we can do. We can sit here and cry and say it's the end of the world. Okay, do that, but then just stop watching the rest of the season if that's going to be your mentality. I see it as we're still in the Europa League. We went against Villa. We're still in the top 4. It's still mathematically possible to have a good season. We're still in the League Cup final. So, all I can do is hope. You know what I mean? Like, whether you call it delusion or not, I'm going to hope.
All right.
And that's it, man. So,
Love
come
it.
on, you Spurs. Let's go. Fuck the Reds. Screw them. They beat us once, every 2 years. Good for them. Let them celebrate their day. But I'm telling you, we're going to win the war. They might have won the battle, but we will win the war. Believe me, bro. Come on, you Spurs.
All
big
right,
up
come on,
Marcelo.
Marcelo. Loving the positivity.
Love it. I love it, Marcelo.
All right,
Let's
we've
hope
got
he's right.
2 guests left, David, and then Josh King. So Irish Hotspur, how you doing, mate?
Come on, David.
You're on
Oh,
mute.
you're
I
on
think.
mute, David.
You're on mute, David.
Yeah, no, lads, I'm absolutely pissed. I'm fucking fuming. Look, as much criticism as Doherty deserves, he's not the only one. Kane was awful.
Yeah.
Bale was awful. Lucas Moura was awful. Everyone wanted him in there for his pressing. You just watched David Luiz run by him at times. Højbjerg, Ndombele, awful. Absolutely awful. We just didn't show up. Not one of our players showed up. Well, yeah, not one of our players showed up today, to be honest. It just wasn't good enough. I don't know whether it's attitude. But honestly, look, here we're back here again, lads. The agenda starts again.
Yeah. But who do you think is more to blame for how the team kind of set up today in terms of the lack of intensity, the lack of pressing? Mourinho saying that they didn't press or intensity like he wanted. It needed more intensity in the team, but we did seem to drop back quite quickly in the game. So what do you put it down to?
No, look, I'll put it down to the players not turning up. From minute 1, we didn't turn up. From minute 1, we didn't turn up. I want to say fair play to Mikel Arteta. I actually didn't want Aurier to start or Doherty to start today. I was calling for Aurier to start. The reason why I didn't want Doherty to start is because even though he's been decent enough over the last few games, it's always took him 15, 20 minutes to get into a game. And in a derby game, you can't do that. And Arteta done his homework. Sent the ball down that right-hand side every single time.
Time and time again.
The players just weren't up for it, lads. If I didn't see David Luiz doing step overs and running by players, and I didn't I didn't see players tracking back, then I'd sit there and say it was Jose Mourinho's fault. When you're seeing their players just run around at will, our players are not throwing in any tackles. They're not, every second ball, you've seen an Arsenal player steam towards it and take it. You've seen Spurs players standing there looking at them. It's an attitude problem today. It's a massive attitude problem. When we got the ball, we couldn't look after it. We could not look after it. We gave it straight back to them. The ball was bouncing around like a fucking ping pong. It's not good enough. And another reason why I still blame the players is because, look, like I've said before, big games under Pochettino under another manager, they've bottled. They had a chance for top 4 today. Top 4 is in our hands. We win that and win our game in hand. Top 4 is yours. And they've bottled it again. It's the mentality issue at this club. And I have maintained, all the issues we brought up, they're still going to be here at the end of the season. And I did say that these players, even though we have been on good run, the performance is going to fluctuate. And today we were brought back down to earth, slapped back down to reality. And unfortunately, it is what it is.
Ultimately, we haven't beaten a side that's been on top of us since Southampton's second game of the season. Do you think that's a telling stat, or do you think it's just a bit of nonsense?
No, look, lads, it's a telling stat. Like, you have to think, even back when we were top of the league, when we had chances to pull away and results went our way, like yesterday, what did we do? We bottled the game. We bottled it. I don't know what's wrong. Like, they need to hire a psychologist or something. They really do, because I can't take this much more. Like, this is a North London derby, and they didn't even start running. They didn't even get out of second gear today. It's embarrassing. Like, let's be honest. This Arsenal team is shit. It's a shit Arsenal team. And we made them look like Barcelona today. And the only reason why they were so good and we were so poor is because they wanted it. They fought for the ball and they kept control of the ball. We didn't. We done nothing. We stood there watching them pass it around us. You know, honestly, Doherty, surely halfway through the first half, something's going to register in the guy's brain and say, well, they keep doing the same move every single time. Give it inside, the winger or the fullback laps onside, and it's straight in behind Doherty. But no, he just couldn't switch onto it. He still fell for it every time. He jumped out, they've done the same thing again. Ball inside, back in behind them. Like, some of these players are just not good enough. You know, you can even talk about, you know, substitute, like, as well. The reason why it's not Jose Mourinho's fault as well. How many times did he change formation today to try and get Song out of him with his different substitutions and stuff like that? You know, you can't legislate for players not running around, not taking care of the ball, not wanting to control the ball, not passing the ball to a player in the same shirt, barely being able to get out of their own half. We've seen it time and time again this season, and it's just not good enough. And I don't want any of these excuses. We played Europa League, we've played more games. We look like the team that travelled from Thursday night. We look like that team, and it should never have been the case. Gareth Bale is a big-time player, and he couldn't even show up today. All he tried was one nutmeg, and he jumped over the ball and outside of the boot cross. That's all he tried today. He done nothing. He looked disinterested. At some stage, I was waiting for Harry Kane to drop deep and get into the game, pick up the ball, get us up the field. He didn't. He just stood up there.
What did you make out of Jose's in-game management today?
Look, the Son injury. There's nothing you can do about that. He brought on Lamela. He done the right thing, in my opinion. That was fine. Bringing on Sissoko, I can understand why he didn't make the change at right back at half-time. Because we have played a lot of games. It's a derby game. You don't want to make another sub too early, and then next thing you get an injury and someone pulls up at the end. But bringing on Sissoko, I can see what he tried to do, because ultimately at the time, as we were getting bullied in midfield, we couldn't get a hold of it. So I could see what he was trying to do. Did it work? No, it didn't work. But you can see what he was trying to do. He was trying to be proactive. He was trying to manage it. He was trying to get it sorted. But at the end of the day, it's not the NFL. Jose can't just come in and pick what players he wants out of a draft. He comes in and has to work what players he had. I'm sure if you given the option and you asked Jose Mourinho, do you want Sissoko coming off the bench or someone you want? He'd want someone he wants. He can only try and get the best out of what he has to work with.
I mean, for me, Doherty had to come off as early as possible. No matter how many subs we had left, he had to come off because they were just destroying us down that side. And it was a detriment to the team. And for me, I was calling for him to go off as early as possible. Even in the first half, I was calling him for go off because he was absolutely fucking shocking. And he was shocking. But look, at the end of the day, you're right. He wasn't the only one. Ndombele is same.
What I will say, Benji, is he is lucky he didn't make that change, because then we wouldn't have been able to make that change after Lamela got sent off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's true.
What do you think of the penalty, David?
Penalty, honestly. Look, you know, Sanchez, we've seen him lunge in. Now, you heard the great Maldini say it, great Nesta, you know, if you're lunging in, it's bad defending. You should always be in the right position. He lunged in, and he clattered him after Lacazette kicked fucking fresh air. After he kicked fresh air. And that's how late it was. It was a penalty. There's no hiding from it. It was a penalty. You know, Sanchez had a great game up until then. I was praising him. I thought he was outstanding up until then. But again, these players have this in them. They're rash. They're brain dead. You know, and they have these mistakes in them. Individual error again. What can we say? That's another one on the board this time. We're probably top of the league with individual errors.
That's for sure. And lastly, David, top 4 race for you. What's your thoughts on the remainder of the season in terms of that?
Nah, lads, come on, you know. Top 4 is still on. It's still on. Look, it's the sort of league that it was, you know, we could go on another 2-3 game run. Chelsea could try and go on a 2-3 game losing streak. We're back in there. It's still on. Anything can happen. We still, look, as deflating as the day is, lads, we still have a League Cup final. We still have the Europa League. And we're definitely still not out of top 4 yet. So everyone just needs to hang in there and pray for the best, to be honest. But honestly, I have to go and face Claude and Kenny Ken now at 9:30, man. I'm absolutely dreading it.
Good luck to you, mate.
Good luck, man.
to you. David, absolute pleasure as always, man. And good luck tonight. We'll all be watching.
Thanks very much, lads. Look, everyone, just keep your heads up. I know it's hard on a day like today. I'm as passionate as everybody else. It kills me as everybody else. But look, these players have ruined fucking days before this season, and they've ruined another one. Just pick yourself up when we go again. That's all I can say. In Joseph we trust. Come on, you Spurs. And big up you two boys for doing this. I know how
big up, David.
It's very
Cheers,
hard.
David.
It's very hard.
Thanks a lot, David.
But now
let's go a few super chats.
Go on. Josh is here, so we'll go to the super chats after the Josh.
All right, I'll go to super chats after.
Welcome back, Josh. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
I mean,
Good to see you.
Sorry, it's on such a bad occasion. Obviously,
he seems to time it perfectly, doesn't he, Josh?
Yeah,
he wants to come.
You say that, but the only time he was
agenda.
ever in here is we beat Man United 6-1.
Yeah, in person, I see. When he's a keyboard warrior, he wants the Josie out narrative.
You know what? I was actually looking forward to coming on and being positive about Jose. Like in the run-up when we were talking, I was thinking, it's going to be a good. I was sure we were going to beat Arsenal today, but and you know, I don't know if you've seen my.
That's
recent
why we
tweets.
lost. That's why we lost.
Yeah,
You were
exactly.
too confident.
Yeah. But like even in my recent tweets, I've said, "Thank you, Jose. Like, prove me wrong, please. I want to be proved wrong. I'm a Spurs fan first. I know there's a lot of people that are either Jose out or Jose in, and they hate the other side. I honestly, I don't care who wins us the league one day or who wins us I don't care who it is. I want Jose to win, but again, he's proven me right. I'm sorry, but today, yes. Look, first of all, as someone that said that I was Jose out before, that doesn't mean that I think that our players are the best they can be. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that I'm, that I think our squad's perfect. But the job of the manager is to get the best out of the squad. He had players available that were better than the players he put on. I'm just talking about Doherty there. Yeah, he could have started with Aurier. Like we all know, if us Twitter fans can say Aurier needs to start, why can't apparently the best manager of all time see that he needs to start? And if he starts and he realizes that he's made a mistake and that we're getting done, that every single thing came down that left today, everything. If you see that, why aren't you taking him off? I'm sorry, but he's still a great football mind, but in my opinion, he's already tasted success. He doesn't have the same kind of vision that he had or hunger when he was younger, and he's too arrogant because he's tasted success. He doesn't see his mistakes the same way. He doesn't see, I played Doherty. Do you know, I need to take him off. Do you know what I mean? Because he is the one that knows everything. He's the one that's won the cups. He's the one that. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sorry, but Jose outers, you can't. Sorry, Jose inners, you can't like defend that today. That was the most obvious decision in football, and then he goes and compounds it with some shocking substitutions. I tweeted out. I said, like Sissoko for Bale. It's like Jose's literally trying to self-destruct this game. That's what I thought. And then my mate messaged me after and said, or he tweeted to me, and he was like, Oh, we need Sissoko because, Doherty hasn't got any protection. No, the answer is to sub Doherty.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Aurier can deal with it. Like, it cannot be, it's not Jose's fault when we're doing badly. It's not Jose's fault. It's all the players' fault. But then when the players are playing well, then it's, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't say that it's Jose's fault when the players are playing badly, but then the players are playing well and it's all Jose's work. Do you know what I mean? So I thought the players weren't good enough. The players aren't good enough. Do you know what I mean? That's what everyone's saying. So when they start performing for him and it's doing well, then I thought the players weren't good enough. Like, sorry, it's just so frustrating today.
I know what you mean.
I completely get where you're coming from, and the whole Doherty thing today was you're completely spot on about that. But what do you put the kind of performances from our trustworthy guys, from Ndombele, from the Højbjergs, from the Kanes, from the Bales? Like, what do you put that performance down to?
Look, I've got to be honest. I don't think Bale was awful. I just feel like it was. No one was playing really well, to be honest. Like Kane does go anonymous, but you've got to remember he's our centre forward. He needs a lot behind him before he can start playing well because he needs to get touches on the ball. And if our midfield isn't working, then so I don't really blame Kane for that performance. And I don't really blame Bale either. It's to be honest, Ndombele was poor. Højbjerg was poor. And there were a lot of poor performances out there. It's not all Jose's fault. But if we're here saying Aurier needs to start, I'm sorry to take it back to this, but we're here saying that, then don't you think the players are thinking, wait, what's going on here? Why is Aurier not starting? So it already sets a tone. When there's baffling decisions, even things like Kane's looking over and he's seeing Sissoko's coming on when we need a goal. How is that making our players feel? You cannot defend it all the time. Do you know what I mean? Jose is not a terrible manager or anything. And being Jose out doesn't mean that I'm ENIC in. I'm not ENIC in. But what we've got is ENIC. And Jose is not an ENIC manager. That's all I'm saying, isn't it? So if we can't get rid of ENIC, which would be my first choice, by the way. So any Jose inner that is saying like, oh, we need to change the board. Yes, I'd much rather change the board, but we can't. So we need to get a project manager in. And I don't want Jose to be sacked now or anything like that. Like, I want him to see this through. Hopefully he gets us a Europa League or something like that. But going forward, he's not getting the best out of the squad. He's making baffling decisions.
Josh, let me ask you this. If, let's say, in the summer we sign a top-class centre-back and a good right-back, do you think that transforms our team for next season?
Yeah, it does. But at the same time, this is the other thing that I wanted to get into. Everyone's like, oh, Jose tells them to press. Even Harry Kane's coming out saying, yeah, he told us to press and all that. But it's not about telling the players to press. You can tell them to press all day. If you're not in training, like creating triggers, you're creating patterns of play, teaching them how to press, like Poch, like the way he had us drilled when we were at our best. Doesn't matter. You can tell them to press all you want. If you're not teaching them, giving them a set of drills in training all the time, they're not going to press well. We only press terrible teams in possession. We don't press good teams. The only time we beat... Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the last year and a half, we weren't pressing under Pochettino either, and it's exactly the same players, bar 1, 2, 3, 4 players.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it went stale. Look at what's happening with Klopp. Look, do you think his players are bad? Do you think he's a bad manager? No, they're not. It went stale. What I'm saying is that, like, you can't say, oh, I told them to press. I tell them to attack. If you're not teaching them or giving them drills on how to attack or how to press.
How do you know he's not? Wait. How do you know he's not?
Okay, look, none of us know. None of us know for sure because we're not in that training ground, innit? So I'm not going to say that I do. But I think it would be a bit more obvious, in my opinion. I think that would be able to tell they're trying to do this. Oh, look at the way that Aurier presses their right winger when Kane presses the centre-back or something. I don't see. I just see it as random. The only time that we press well is when we've got madmen on the pitch like Lucas and Lamela. That's it. Like, do you know what I mean? There's no triggering point. Delhi was a brilliant presser under Poch. He didn't need pace because everyone was pressing behind him. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, I take your point, and I do agree with it. And I think today we said it straight, pretty much as the game was going on, that Mourinho today, especially, has to take a lot of responsibility for the result because I think everyone and their dog could see what was happening on the pitch with Matt Doherty and that right back slot, and especially I think not only did he put Doherty there, but he also, I feel, partnering him with Bale up against Kieran Tierney, who gets forward left pretty much the whole game. It was a recipe for disaster because Tierney was going to overlap the shit out of Doherty. Bale was never going to track back as much as as much as we want him to, or as much as a right winger or like someone like Bergwijn would, for example. He was never going to do that kind of job. So it was always going to be a recipe of disaster to have those two together. And not having Aurier on the pitch was shocking. But on the same time, they're only getting to that situation because the forward players, I felt like, what, like in the second half, especially, I don't know, maybe for a bit of the second half, we started to press a bit more. We started to ask a bit more questions. But why aren't we? Because I guess maybe it's because of the opposition, but it's difficult to see why against this when Mourinho's coming out and saying something. Why aren't? Is it the right profile players? Is Bale not a kind of player who's going to press for an hour like we need him to? Is that what it is? Is it the profile of player, or do you think that it's that they're not being coached as well as they could be?
My opinion, yes, Bale isn't a player that's going to press as well as. But to be honest with you, I saw him do a few presses today. Like even today, and everyone's saying he was terrible. Like he did pressure the ball as much as he can. He's not who he used to be, innit? He can't run around like a headless chicken anymore. But
maybe that's what we need. Maybe that's what we need. We need headless chickens, maybe.
Maybe. But look, it comes down to this. Simple as, if all of us can see that Aurier should have started, and we can see what's happening to Doherty, what is, and I want you guys to answer this question, what is Jose thinking when he sees Doherty get rinsed every couple of minutes, every time? Like, what is he thinking in his head? Do you think he can't see that?
Well, that's why he took off Bale, because I agree. I agree with you, but I agree with you.
What's the answer? Can he see that? Can he see that Doherty?
Yeah, he saw the problem and came up with the wrong solution, in my opinion.
Yes, because his arrogance got... Jose, we know that he's on social media. We know he will know that everyone is calling for Aurier to start. Yeah, but like we can't deny that he posts on people's Instagrams and stuff like that. Yeah,
does he?
Okay. Yeah, players. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He looks at social media. Yeah, people would be talking about Aurier starting. All of us were. Yeah, so he in his head when he makes a decision, because he's got the background to be arrogant, because he's won all these cups and we're little old Tottenham. But he's made the decision. He's got it wrong. Yeah, and instead of going back on his decision, which I know he's not stupid, he can see Doherty's getting rinsed. What does he do? He tries to come up with another solution without taking Doherty off.
Yeah, and he got that wrong. I completely agree. He got that completely wrong.
There's no one.
I can't defend that. I can't defend what he did today with Doherty.
There's no one here saying that Jose wasn't most culpable for the defeat today.
Here's my problem, though. Here's my problem with Jose specifically, yeah? It's that he knows he got it wrong, but he decided not to make the decision that would have made it right and sub Aurier, because he knows I made that decision. Everyone wanted Aurier to play. I'm arrogant and I'm not going to change him for Aurier. I'm going to do something else. That's what I'm saying. So when everyone's talking about, it's the players, yeah? Yes, the players aren't perfect. They're far from perfect. We've got a top 6 squad at best, not a top 4 squad. But Poch had a top 6 squad and he was getting top 2, top 3. Do you know what I mean?
Up until it went stale, yeah.
You know, Josh, the way you got to look at it as well is that we had already made one sub as well with the injury with the human Son. And at some point, Gareth Bale is going to have to come off. At some point, Tongi and Ndombele might have to come off as well. So if you take off Doherty, then, you leave yourself flat. And we got a man sent off anyway, so we would have been left with 9 men, potentially.
It's a good point. It's a very, very good point. And I'm not going to blame Son's injury on Jose. There's nothing you can do about that. I would have started Son in this game, but I don't think he's been given as much rest as he needed to. I think Kane has had some time off because of that small injury. You could have just started Kane on Thursday. You didn't need to start Son, I don't think.
Yeah,
do you know
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
So a lot of things come back to management. You've got to admit that. And if we're good enough to play how we played in the Burnley game, the Crystal Palace game, and even parts of the first half of the Fulham game, and other points this season, that proves that the players are good enough. It can't, or they're good enough to a point, but it can't be, it's all Jose is good when we're playing well, and then it's the players' fault when we're doing terrible. That's my point.
I don't think the majority of the Jose inners can also see flaws in Jose, because there's flaws in everyone at the end of the day. And Jose Mourinho, he's had his mistakes this season. Me and my brother are both Jose in, but we can both see where the flaws are coming from with Jose Mourinho. And I don't know about you, but I personally think that if we revamp this defence, the centre-back position and the right-back position, then I genuinely believe it can transform this whole team for next season.
I agree with that. The only thing I would say is you have to get rid of some of the, like, Jose can be a success here. He really can, but Levy needs to be ruthless, which, you know, he's terrible in the market usually at selling players, but he needs to get rid of the players that Jose could be tempted to play, like Sissoko. So if Sissoko is here, Jose will have him on the bench. He will always have him on the bench. If we get rid of him, he can't pick Jose. Doherty, we need. I'm sorry, it's really
he needs to go. He needs to go.
He needs to go. He needs to go. Like I wouldn't quite put Winks into that category, but he's close. He's close to like, you know.
To be honest, I won't have any problems seeing Winks, Sissoko, or Doherty go, and I'm telling you that right now. And Dyer, even Dyer, I wouldn't be upset to see him go.
If we can get rid of those players, I am Jose in for next season because and replace them properly, because then Jose can't make stupid decisions. Give him quality, and because he's had squads. And by the way, when people are talking about Jose pressing, the last time he had a pressing team was Porto, which was years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, his teams aren't renowned for pressing, so I wouldn't imagine him to have really state-of-the-art pressing drills or anything like that. And he's always had quality squads. Even if he's got an injury, he's got a decent player on the bench. And the players he's got to pick from at Chelsea, Real Madrid, I wouldn't put United into that category, but Inter, the players he was picking from are better than our squad, so he couldn't make mistakes like subbing Sissoko on, because the player will be more quality on his bench. So if we give, but we're not going to do that. That's the point. We do not have the money to do that right now. COVID's come. Our biggest earner, the stadium, the stadium is not earning us any cash right now. And the best, if we want to progress, I'm sorry, but I think we should hope that Jose wins us a League Cup and maybe a Europa League. Then he can say he won something at Tottenham. Yeah. And then we can say we've won a trophy. We know that his third year is notoriously one of, it always goes off the boil anyway. So I think we should part ways in the summer. That's my opinion. Unless Levy is going to spend money, which we know he won't, then we need to get a younger, more hungry manager that's more up to date.
But surely, even if we get a younger, hungrier manager, we're still going to need to spend that money to buy the same players.
That's the thing, though. Yes, we're going to have to buy. You know that Jose likes more ready-made players, that he won't take a chance on a youngster. If we get, I don't know, someone like Nagelsmann, like, I know everyone's talking, I don't even like mentioning the name because it's like everyone's been talking about it.
Are you one of those Nagelsmann sexuals, yeah?
No, I'm not. I'm really not. There's another guy, but I wanted to mention him first, but I can't remember what his name is properly. Fnick, I think his name is.
Hansi Flick.
Oh, Ralph. I know you're talking about.
Ralph Rangnick.
Yes, I think that's his name. The only reason that I would say him is because he is actually a director of football as well. So he might be able to, sway Levy a bit. And we desperately need someone that can just sort Levy out. Do you know what I mean? Like,
would you ever take Scott Parker?
Oh, I don't. I know you play for Chelsea. I love Scotty Parker, man. Honestly, like, I wouldn't take him right now. I don't think.
You don't think? You would like Parker to replace Jose Mourinho?
No, I wouldn't ask it. Like, I wouldn't do that right now. But when we were at our lowest, like a month ago, I would have said, "Yeah, I'll take Scott Parker." But right now, I wouldn't.
And also, you got to remember that it's going to cost about 15-20 million to sack Jose.
So what do you do then? So what are you saying, that we shouldn't do that if it's the right thing for the club? Do you know what I mean?
But it's only the right thing for the club if we have the funds to buy more players as well.
Well, it's only the right thing to keep him if we've got more funds.
so it's like we're fucked then, basically.
No,
if he gets back in the Champions League for us and gets that Champions League revenue, surely that could free up something for him to play with.
Sim, I could hear your voice cracking. You don't even believe there's a remote opportunity he's getting us into the Champions League this season.
It could win Europa League. It could win Europa League.
Really?
Why not?
Like, not if we've got this in us, because
no.
We're not going to
got
get
this in
into
us.
opposition all the time. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and at the end of the day, those players out there, yes, a lot of them deserve a lot of criticism. But at the end of the day, where's it?
But you said if he wins us the Europa League, you'd still part ways with him.
Only if, look, I would keep Jose. I know it sounds really complicated. I'd keep Jose if Levy is going to spend money. If you go back to when I said that like a year ago in June, I said like Jose can be a success here if we spend money. But we did little cut short deals. We got whatever he's, you know, that Portuguese agent that got us
Mendes,
and Gedson and all that. That's not. We were thinking, oh yeah, we've spent a bit of money. We haven't really spent.
We didn't really. Yeah, we didn't really.
And it was a failure of a transfer, window, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, apart from Reguilon, Højbjerg, Højbjerg, and Bell were good acquisitions. You got to say that. But Doherty, nah, just a poor.
By the way, I actually think, I believe that Jose would have said, I need a centre back, and I believe that we failed him. I do believe that, and that. So I get when people, Jose Innes are saying it's not his fault, it's the player's fault. But we are not going to get rid of Enoch. We're not. So we need to get an Enoch manager. Do you know what I mean? That's what I think. And Poch was an Enoch manager.
Right, but they sacked Poch.
Yeah, they did. You're right. But what I mean is another manager that can come in and make what he's got better than it is, better than the sum of its parts. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Jose isn't that kind of manager. He's a mentality manager, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean?
Which is what we thought we needed at the time. But you're saying that maybe we need. So after Poch, we should have gone with another project. You're saying instead of trying to actually get these players over the line.
I thought. I honestly, I could probably find evidence of it. I thought from 2018, I thought that this set of players was kind of done. Obviously, I'm not talking about everyone, like Harry, Son, all that. I wanted them to stay, but the defenders, when Toby and Jan were getting older and all that sort of stuff, I thought everyone, like, we needed a fresh start.
Well, so, Poch more or less said it himself, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, there you go.
Well, we said at the time we would have rather kept Poch and let him rebuild. But having sacked Poch, Mourinho was my first choice. Having sacked Poch, but if you ask me now if I would have liked if I could reverse that decision to sack Poch, I probably said yes. I probably wouldn't sack him.
Ah, so you're a Poch-inner. You're not a Jose.
I was always a Poch-inner from the start.
I hate these labels everyone gets now in the fan base. It drives me mad.
From the very start, I would wanted Poch to stay.
Like, everyone should be singing from the same hymn sheet. We all want Tottenham to succeed, and I hate these people on social media and being like, "Oh, I want Spurs to lose their next 3 games so Mourinho can get sacked." I mean,
the worst thing we can do is get in the Champions League so Mourinho stays or something. Like that.
You know what I mean.
Like these people, like just go away.
Like, if you want
I'm not like that at all. Honestly, like I would love for Jose to fucking stick it to the league and be like, and win us a league next season, because all the Man United fans and all the Chelsea fans that take the piss out of us, do you know what I mean? They'd be like, and it'd be so good for the league for someone like Jose to come back and just win the league with Tottenham. But I just don't think we're gonna give him the funds to do it. So I'm ready to.
You might be right. I'll see where we are at the end of the season.
You've been ready to move on for a while, Josh. But thanks for coming. thanks for coming on today, man.
Nice one,
It's been a long time, and hopefully you get to come on a bit more.
Yeah, we'll do. Take care, man.
All right,
nice
cheers,
one,
Josh. All right.
So
that is the mammoth stream.
Just a few super chats to read out, and we'll end the stream. Where are they gone now? All disappeared on me.
Going to the viewer activity.